Now we're going to introduce symmetry here. Okay. So some graphs have symmetry with respect to x-axis. Symmetry with respect to x-axis. Very good. How do we analyze these types of equations and their symmetry with respect to x-axis? We say that if a point x and y is on the graph, then x and minus y is also on the graph. Well, what do I mean by that? Take a look at this graph. This is my x-axis and this is my y-axis. So I'm graphing this by this way. Some part of the graph is above and the other part is below x-axis. If I take any random points, like this point here, x and y, its reflection with respect to x-axis is also on the graph, but in this case, you have x and minus y. So in this case, we say that, hey, we have symmetry with respect to x-axis. If I take this piece of graph and fold this with respect to x-axis, I get the exact same piece on the other side. This is symmetry with respect to x-axis. We also have symmetry with respect to y-axis. With respect to y-axis. So for y-axis, if x and y is any random point on the graph, then the point minus x and y is also on the graph. Think about a parabola, for example. Let's check to see what do I mean by that visually. So this is the graph of the parabola, like this. One piece here, the other piece here. If I take any random points on the graph, x and y, and if I look at the reflection, the point minus x and y is also on the graph. In this case, we say that, hey, we have symmetry with respect to y-axis. If I fold it this way, get the exact same piece on both sides. If you take a point on the graph and the opposite of that point is also on the graph, we have symmetry with respect to the origin. So let's write this down. Symmetry with respect to the origin. If x and y is on the graph, then minus x and minus y is also on the graph. For example, let's take a look at this graph here. So I don't want to move this. Also on the graph. Let's just take a look at the graph, possible graph that is symmetric with respect to the origin here. So we usually see graphs of this form. If a point like x and y is on the graph, like this point, x and y, minus x and minus y belongs to the third quadrant, as you remember. That point is also on the graph, minus x and minus y. In this case, if you have a graph like this, or if it satisfies this property, you're going to say that they have symmetry with respect to the origin.